Hi everybody. I probably should look right here. I'm in the park right now, and I just wanted to take a few moments and talk to you guys about the difference between boundaries and standards. And this is like a lesson that I've recently just come to learn, and it's been really beneficial to me. So I just thought I'd share some thoughts. A little background for me is that I always confused boundaries and standards. But recently I learned through a brief relationship that I've never really had boundaries, and it was because I was never taught boundaries. And I feel like there are a lot of women that struggle with this. A lot of people, but specifically women, that struggle with boundaries and standards. And because we've confused the two, a lot of times we accept things and we involve ourselves in situations, and we confuse being understanding, and we confuse being forgiving, and we confuse being accepting and loving with boundaries or lack thereof. And I think this recent experience has taught me that there is a huge difference between having standards and boundaries. Boundaries are very specific lines that you create that you don't violate, and you don't allow other people to violate either. And there are lines that are drawn to help you protect yourself, and there are lines that are there to help generate respect and create respect, and also show other people how to treat you through how you treat yourself. Standards are basically outside of yourself, so they're how or what you perceive other people should have, or what other people should do when they interact with you. And I think a lot of women that say, well, I have very high standards, so I'm not sure why this person thought it was okay to come into my life and to do this or that. And you may have high standards, but that has more to do with what the other person brings to the table than what you're creating for yourself, and the territorial lines that you're drawing in your own life. And a lot of times when we don't create boundaries or make them very clear, we expect other people to abide by unspoken rules. And that's kind of what operating in life is like without boundaries. If you find yourself always in situations and predicaments where you're being taken advantage of, where you're being hurt, where you're being lied to, or you're being deceived, or where people are treating you with less respect or than you deserve, or where you feel like people are taking advantage of you in some way, check to see where there are boundaries that are not clear, that you have not made clear, because that's often, I feel, where we end up, is expecting other people to abide by unspoken rules, or rules that haven't been set forth. And some things are obvious because of human, or you feel like other people should have human dignity and treat other people the way they expect to be treated, but the reality is that's not true. People treat you how you show them to treat you, and that's part of maturity too, is understanding that boundaries are a necessary part of how you show up in life. You have to create those boundaries and enforce those boundaries, especially when it comes to dealing with men as a woman, because that's what men are very territorial. And so without clear boundaries, boundaries are what they actually really respect because of their nature. Their nature is territorial. If you even look at nature, you see male animals, they're constantly marking their boundaries, their territories. You'll see a dog, a cat, pee, mark its scent on a tree to establish its territory, its boundary. You see that lion, marking its scent, establishing its territory, guarding its territory. And in reality, that's just the nature of males. Not comparing men to animals, but we're higher animals that operate based on choice rather than instinct. So the same things apply to males as well. That's really what they respect, is boundaries, and you have to establish that in order to even have hopes of having something healthy and having starting a healthy relationship. So I just wanted to drop that with you guys. My light is fading, so I'm gonna stop recording. But I just wanted to come on and talk to you guys about that, because I think it's something that's very important for us to distinguish. And for a lot of women that haven't really had the opportunity to know what boundaries look like, maybe you grew up in an environment that did not encourage boundaries. Maybe you saw your parents operate without boundaries. Maybe you saw your mother constantly being taken advantage of. Maybe you were sexually violated, which actually I think is the beginning of a lot of people. If your boundaries were destroyed at a very young age through sexual molestation and violation, then the basis of how you perceive boundaries has already been broken. And so throughout your life, as you go along, because of that early violation, you find it very difficult, or you don't even know how to establish boundaries. So maybe that's it. Maybe you saw your father or your mother take advantage of you. Maybe other people that you grew up around, you saw there was a lack of boundaries in their dealings with one another and in their relationships. So it takes kind of unlearning what you've seen previously, unlearning that, and learning to operate differently in order to obtain different results, and to secure yourself and protect your heart, your mind, your spirit, and realizing that boundaries are internal. They come from within you, and you set them, and other people see and recognize that, and it's up to you to decide how to enforce those boundaries. So I just wanted to leave that with you guys today, and hopefully that helped you kind of begin to think more about the boundaries that you have or don't have within your own life, and also the difference between maybe boundaries and standards, and just kind of examine that a little bit deeper for yourself. All right. I hope everybody has a wonderful day.